In my opinion, I think Brookvale Oval is the most overrated suburban ground in Australia. Changed my mind.
I can't believe you've just said that. You're going to make a lot of enemies. Firstly.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is I'm meant to get there 3 hours before the main kickoff. Sorry, I don't have kids, family. I've just got a girlfriend now. Shout out to me, go me. Manly got to realise that it's not 2021 anymore, it's 2026, and you can't rely on Tom Trbojevics for the rest of his career.
Actually, Manly didn't exist in the early 2000s.
Yeah, where'd you go?
Northern Eagles, but I was too young. I don't know. You were around, but I wasn't.
Imagine
You have to be kidding me. The fact that people think that Newcastle fans aren't passionate, and you're saying that, like, that actually irritates me. It actually upsets me massively because I know.
Okay, Bob Catter.
Hi there, I'm Roasty. Welcome to Change My Mind, brought to you by the Isuzu MU-X. This is a show where we pit diehard rugby league fans face to face and get them to debate the topics they'll stand by and ones they refuse to back down from. Starting with Nilsso from What's New in the Castle. He's representing Newcastle. And we've got Ella from Manly representing the Manly Sea Eagles. On a scale of 1 to 10, guys, how much do you hate each other's team?
Well, it just speaks for itself. 10 out of 10. I'm sure you'd be the same.
You know what? I actually have hate for other clubs even more, but I'll put you at an 8.
She's like...
Are you flirting with me, Ella? That's
No, the problem
getting a bit uncomfortable.
The problem is when teams win so many spoons in a row, like I start feeling bad for them, and they drop down how much I hate
Interesting,
them.
yeah. I felt bad for you when you were the Northern Eagles back in the day, but that wasn't us. It was a different club. Yeah, right. We've heard more before.
I was too young.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but
we haven't even started on the topic yet, and we're into it. So
that just shows how much I hate Manly.
This is going to be good. This is going to be good. But let's start on the topic of Change My Mind. You've got the first one, Nilso. What have we got?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think Brookvale Oval is the most overrated suburban ground in Australia. Changed my mind.
I can't believe you've just said that. You're going to make a lot of enemies. Firstly, the word overrated, I actually think a lot of people don't rate Brookvale Oval as is.
But all Manly fans talk about
Manly
how good is it.
fans do, but I'm saying the rest of the comp does.
But
Anyways,
go on.
I'll tell you what's so good about it. Any ground with a hill is a magical place that, unfortunately, McDonald Jones Stadium doesn't have. There's a little patch of grass.
Are you kidding me?
There's a little patch of grass.
The southern and northern end, you got the family-friendly hill,
that one.
the dry hill, and then you got the other one.
It's nothing.
It's the whole width. It's 68 metres as a rugby league field.
It's nothing compared to our one. Anyways, but what I want to bring up is the game day experience at Brookvale Oval. We have so many breweries around, which I saw you at.
Yeah, okay, great. Sorry, was that inside Brookvale Oval?
No, but I'm talking about the whole game day experience here.
Okay. Yeah, great.
That's inclusive.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, continue.
There is so many breweries, which builds up the hype.
Yeah.
Everyone's walking, people march to the ground together from the breweries. And I just think Brookvale Oval, any suburban ground, has an atmosphere that big stadiums just cannot compete with.
Okay, I understand what you're saying about the breweries, etc., like that, and thank you for hosting me the other day on my game day experience.
I did shout him a drink.
You did, and I very much needed that. Though, yes, I understand that McDonald Jones Stadium, for an example, and then now that's an actual stadium in like a suburban area, right? So 35,000 capacity. I think they only fill it to about 30,000, which, even through wooden spoons, as you mentioned before, we still pack the stadium out, 3 wooden spoons in a row from like 2016, 17, 18 or 15, 16, 17, and we're still getting 25,000 screaming Novocastrians in the joint. Now, I went to Brookvale Oval on the weekend and just FYI, we put 38 points on you. We did beat you. So just thought I might add that to the game day experience you're talking about. I just personally... everyone talks about how good suburban grounds are. You look at Leichhardt Oval, and I've been able to play at Leichhardt Oval, and I've looked around, and yes, there was no one there for my games, but I could understand, there's a bit of a flavour about this joint. I can understand why. My experience with Brookvale Oval on the weekend. Now, I went with a couple of mates, and we walked into the joint and walked up onto the hill, tried to find a spot. Yeah, maybe we weren't in there early enough, but we're still 45 minutes before the game kicked off. We get in there, and the hill is not that high up compared to when you're looking down on the actual field. So when you walk in, for the listeners out there listening to this, so when you walk into Brookvale Oval, if you haven't been there, have you been there, Roasty?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so you walk in there, the hill looks massive, right? From the street, it looks like one of the great hills. And you go in there, you sit up there, and you're not that much in line with, higher than the fields. Then you're looking down on the field, and you've got a couple of wooden seats where, general admission platinum members, whatever that means, can sit there. And then there's like this walkway, and every second man and their dog is just walking back and forth. And you're sitting down on the hill. If you're at the bottom of that hill, you can't see anything because there's all these northern beaches snobs walking around. You can't see the game. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but that's why you've got to get there early because Manly fans are so passionate. We get there for all 3 grades. So you've got to get there earlier than 40 minutes. And if you're at the back of that hill, right on the 50-metre line, the best thing about suburban grounds is the hill ticket's the cheapest ticket, and any stadium, if you're sitting on the 50-metre line, it's the most expensive ticket in the stadium. When there's a hill on a suburban ground, you get the best view if you're up the top. I take your point on being at ground level, not great viewing. If you're up the top, right at the back of the hill, best view on the ground for the cheapest
Okay, so
price.
basically what you're saying is I'm meant to get there 3 hours before the main kickoff. Sorry, I don't have kids, family. I've just got a girlfriend now. Shout out to me, go me. But if I've got kids and I've got family, I've got work. I'm sorry, Ella, I can't. Like, I know there's families out there, my mates who have kids. They are not fortunate enough to get to the footy 3 hours before kickoff. They're lucky to get there an hour before. Now, are you going to tell me that, unfortunately, just because they're not in there 3 hours before, they can't get a good seat on the hill to watch their beloved Manly Sea Eagles play? I think that's so unfortunate for them. At least at McDonald Jones Stadium, we've got 2 hills, southern end and the northern end. Northern end is the alcohol-free zone, right? And it's that whole hill. So you can get there at whatever time, no matter where you're sitting on that hill at McDonald Jones Stadium, you're going to get an absolute fantastic view of the ground. You're going to see some great footy, besides the wooden spoon years. Though I'm talking about when I went to Brookvale the other day, I left a little bit with a bit disdain taste in my mouth because of the actual experience. I was like, I've heard so many Manly tragics over the years talk about, Brookvale this, Brookvale that. I honestly left going, that was the most overrated experience I've ever been to compared to McDonald Jones Stadium, compared to other stadiums. Now, I understand why Peter V'landys and others at the NRL are trying to, get rid of that suburban ground atmosphere around semi-finals football time and that. And I understand that's their home, though I can totally agree why they want people to go into these football stadiums that are getting built. Example, McDonald Jones Stadium, Allianz, you go to Allianz, you go to Suncorp Stadium, you go to all these brand new stadiums, Combank. Everyone leaves going, how good was that stadium? That was unreal. You get a line for a drink, go get some food. Everything's quick, everything's great like that. I went to Brookvale with 20 minutes to go in the first half. I had to line up 15 minutes for a beer. I missed out on 2 nights tries because we just kept on pumping them out. You see what I'm talking about?
Do you think some of these things that he's bringing up are hidden behind the fact that, around Brookie's great area, all the breweries, all that sort of stuff, but hidden inside that stadium is some bad lineups, bad experiences going to the toilet, all that sort of stuff?
Listen, that's what comes with, the aura of a suburban ground. You get that more blue-collar stuff than these white-collar stadiums. However, I've got 2 points to end on this to one. Firstly, I think you need to go back to Brookie, and I want you in the middle of the top of the hill. Secondly, I do understand that maybe opposition fans just don't get it. It's a spiritual place for Manly supporters, and if you haven't grown up going to suburban grounds, I do understand maybe you just don't get it.
I grew up going to McDonald Jones Stadium when, before the Western Grandstand was built, we had the old grandstand where you had trainers and stuff water the away sheds when they go in. You hear Andrew and Matty Johns used to talk about how they used to water down the away sheds. And I've been grinded through the years of used to be called Marathon Stadium, which is famously what it used to be called. The hill used to wrap around the whole ground. Like, I experienced that as a kid. Like, I understand. Those suburban grounds for me, like, I played local rugby league up in Newcastle for the South Newcastle Lions. Shout out, great club, Red V,
so
Red
many
and White.
shout-outs already.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
But, like, for me, suburban grounds is for local league. Don't get me wrong. I love going to Townsend Oval where my beloved South Newcastle Lions play, and I'll be there on the hill, up in the grandstand, banging on the tin sheds, whatever I'll have to do to get my team on the line. Though I think suburban grounds should be focused more on local league, and I feel like the NRL, which is the grand product at the end of the day, we should be focusing on these bigger stadiums which government has forked a lot of money into. And don't get me wrong, there is time to go back, for example, Penrith going out to play at Bathurst, or Canberra playing in Queanbeyan or something, for example. I don't know if they've ever played a game in Queanbeyan, but you know what, going up into Queensland and playing in those rural areas, which give local young Indigenous kids that experience of going around. I understand that, but for me, that Brookvale experience that I had on the weekend was quite poor. And also, not to be a precious little boy, the toilets were quite disgusting.
You know what? I can cop that.
All
All I was going to
Yep.
say is I love suburban grounds, but you have made a great debate of why Brookvale Oval needs some funding. So if you're the state government and watching this, if you want to give us some funding,
All I heard from that was he's saying Manly's a local footy team, which I agree with.
If you look at the ladder, you can kind of see why.
it's very hard to debate that right now.
moving on, Ella, you've got the next point.
Tolu Kola has a higher ceiling than Bradman Best. Changed my mind. By the end of both of their careers,
Okay.
who do we look back on going like, wow, you're incredible? And it's kind of based off, obviously, what their form is like now,
Yeah,
what they've
course.
done. Yeah.
For Kola, for an example, right now, fantastic form, and I can see why a lot of people think he's such a great player because he is. So what I'm saying here, this is no disrespect to Kola, though Kola's probably got that speed, but Bradman Best's defensive efforts, now I don't watch Kola close enough, but if you're going to go over the weekend for a good example, like so many league tries all over the park, and that's not just me trying to be disrespectful to your club there, but you look at Bradman Best and his defensive efforts, him and Greggy Marzu, which is, at times people have questioned Greg Marzu's defensive tactics. Bradman Best, whoever he has on his outside, has made them a better player, a better winger. Bradman Best is not just reliable on his attacking footwork and speed, where he relies a lot on his defence.
The only reason I would argue that Tolu has that higher ceiling than Bradman, I think Bradman's an incredible player. I think Bradman's been chosen for Origin before Tolu purely because he debuted young at an earlier age than Tolu did. He was still playing SG ball at 18, which I used to go and watch, which is really embarrassing for me. I don't know why I said that.
Of course you did.
But I think, and it's really shown in these first two games as well, like there have been moments where I can single-handedly link back a Manly win to Tolu. And that started especially in 2024 when we beat the Bulldogs in that last minute effort where he ran and lost his shoe on the way.
Sorry, I can see the point that you're trying to make there. The only way where I think that Cola's ceiling could be bigger, Bradman Best is prone for a lot of soft tissue injuries. You've noticed he's had hamstring injuries and calf issues. Big calves, by the way. You've actually stared at him with lots of tattoos on him. Big scary man for such a young guy. But anyway, he's had so many soft tissue injuries where I'm like, okay, a few more of them, it's going to be frustrating as a proud Novocastrian. It's just like anyone with injuries, like it's very frustrating. So like maybe that's the only way I could see Kola reaching a higher ceiling than Bradman Best, though at this stage of the career and the trajectory they're both going on, if they're in a running race, I feel like Bradman's 30 metres ahead at this moment, and I just don't see Kola catching him.
Tolu is faster though, let's just say there, if we were in an actual running race.
Well, let's get it, can we get Isuzu to tee up a little sprint race between the two?
When he was at, Newington College, he won all the 100-metre sprints there. He's quite fast.
Why were you hanging around at college when you're like 30?
You're 30. I'm actually Gen Z. So
Well, there could be a point in time where we see both of them in a New South Wales
That would
jersey
be great.
at the same time.
Yeah, then we
which
can both
could be
shake
good.
hands.
Correct.
We'll come back
We might
to
actually agree on something
Yeah.
here. Moving on, Dan, what's your next point?
On current form, Manly won't make the top 8, but Newcastle will. Change my mind.
Listen, this is going to really test how much I love my club defending here. I don't know if you know these stats. So it's been 2 rounds, correct? Last year.
Yeah, 2 rounds. Beep, boop, beep, boop. Hey, yo. 2 rounds.
Last year, Newcastle won their first 2 rounds and got the spoon. Unfortunately, you guys are having one of those years that feels like South's last year, where it's just injury after injury. And I kind of feel bad for you guys a little bit, not too much, because you still managed to beat my team last week, even with 3 of your best players off the field in that second half.
At an ordinary stadium too, or park.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the trajectory for Manly is not looking great right now. However, we have come back from a poor start to the season before. Obviously, in 2021, we lost our first 4 games.
Here we go. Yeah.
Who knows? A coach sacking could happen mid-season that really fires the boys up. I'm just saying, at the moment, I don't know if I actually see Newcastle making the 8. If you guys are that team this year that is like just unlucky with injuries.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned stats. If we're going to go into the nitty-gritty with stats, sacking a coach mid-season doesn't relatively go well for
No, but
teams in history.
we haven't
I
sacked him yet.
like your way of thinking. Our depth is not as bad as what people are making out to be. Like, for an example, Dylan Brown, Kalen Ponga, Sharp, they're all down. We've signed that Sandon Smith, and we've also got, a lot of people don't realise, old punter, Tyson Gamble responsibly. You got him. You got Tyson Gamble there, who's played 100 NRL games. He's played with the Broncos. He's been at the Knights for a few years. Just on the weekend, got man of the match or player of the whole New South Wales Cup round. So we've got some depth there, and I genuinely feel like the Knights, their ceiling for this year, if we can, get through these next couple of months with Ponga and Brown out injured, and I don't know how long Sharp's going to be out for, but if we can win 3 or 4 games over this next 6 to 8 weeks, then I have no doubt in my mind we can make the 8. Where Manly, on the other hand, I just don't see it. Like, where do you, like, in the forwards? Like,
I see it as like, with your statement being Newcastle make the 8 and Manly won't, we might both just miss the 8.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
at this trajectory. However, like you said, I think it's going to be very dependent on the next 6 to 8 weeks for both of our clubs to see how you guys go with some of your biggest stars out, and you're not playing a club that's like in a bit of turmoil like mine at the moment.
Yeah.
And also for my club to see, can we turn it around like we did in 2021? You just don't want to get the injury bug that South had last year that you feel like you guys...
Well, touch wood. Is there any wood around here?
Yeah,
I'm not touching any wood.
Yeah, there you go. But we spoke about stats. One of the stats I love, the last time Newcastle won 3 games in a row, they also won the spoon, which was last year. But the last time they won the first 2 games, then lost round 3, they also got the spoon. So regardless of this week's result, you're going to...
I'm not a big stats guy. I'm a big just, get out there and get the job done type of guy.
But we'll move on.
You guys wouldn't get it.
Ella, you've got the next point. What have you got?
You guys worship a couple of old premierships like they happened yesterday. Basically, you live off your history. Change my mind.
Ooh.
Yep.
This could cause some frustration.
I kind of agree with you there in an aspect. I feel like you're going off kind of the older heads. Now, when I say older heads, probably people from like their 40s onwards. So maybe like my old boy's 63 now. So yeah, I can kind of understand where you're coming from with that older generation that are living off, back in my day, we were hard working and we're at the butcher's, buddy, doing stuff with the meat and whatever they butchers do. Clearly I'm not a butcher or all, I was a chippy.
You are a firefighter though. We haven't plugged that yet.
Yeah, true. Shout out to us emergency service workers doing a real good job for the community. No, but like you look at them and go, we had jobs back in the day, and then we went to training, and we smoked a dart and had a beer, and then we still went out there and did this, and we won grand finals. And then you look at the players today; they earn too much. Where I'm kind of on like the balance beam here, where I can see both sides to that. Where I'm like, I was 2 years old. I was born in '95. Like don't remember the '97 grand final, but I was young enough but old enough to remember the 2001 grand final, which was great. And I've always said, I would love for my club I'd love for myself to experience a grand final win at my age or whenever. And it's like, I think my generation, we're not really relying on that past of our history. Yeah, we all worship Joey Johns, but I feel like everyone who's in the beautiful state of New South Wales worships Andrew Johns. It's not just Novocastrians, right? So I feel like, these are both New South Wales supporters, yes?
Yes.
So you both love Andrew Johns. You both remember Game 2, 2005. All these great things. So, of course, we're going to worship the greatest player of all time in those premierships because they meant so much for the community and for the town at the time. They went through earthquakes. They went through the BHP shutting down. So, obviously, that's all going to have a special place in our hearts because we've had family members who have, grown up and had those experiences which were tough for the town and the city. But now for us, it's just like, okay, that was our past. Our new generation is like, righto, let's keep on supporting our club. You can see it. We're getting 30,000. We're packing that stadium out every single week. So, like, to say that we're worshipping onto old times, maybe for the older heads, but us new generation, I don't believe so.
Would you class Newcastle as a successful club, or at least in
the last 20 years? Obviously, probably not. Successful as in community-wise, could they have done a bit more through community? They do a lot, right? And they do a lot of. I think they lost a lot of that connection through different tertiaries in the different groups like different
The
catchments of
ownerships
areas
and stuff,
Yeah,
like,
just we had that experience with Tinkler coming in, and then he lost a lot of the members' trust and fans' trust. So a lot of people when he left, and then West come in, and then West haven't really had the best relationship with the community either, or some would argue the other way. So there's been lots of like coming and going over the years where we haven't really had that consistency for the last 20 years. And that's why all the older people probably rely on those 97 and 2001 grand finals when, rugby league was only really just starting to become a full professional sport. Now I look at it now, it's like, I can understand that, but, I believe there's better years to come, and we just got to like stick solid.
We'll say there's been, Manly have been pretty successful over their whole history. They haven't won one for a little while. Are you starting to rely a little bit on history as well? Or, if you don't win in the next few years, are you going to be in the same position as what Dan is?
I think it's the latter of that question. I was so blessed growing up. And from the time I think I was in about kindergarten, we were in finals 10 years in a row. I saw my team in 4 grand finals and win 2 premierships. So I used to go around when I was about 13 going like, haha, I've seen my club do this. And at that point in time, South hadn't won a comp in ages. The Sharks hadn't won a comp yet. Now, unfortunately, I can't hold those arguments as much. I think because I think we do hold on to our 2021 season being so incredible. And I know it was a very weird season with rule changes, COVID and the bubble and all of that. And I feel like that's recent enough to not maybe say that we're holding on to our history too much. But I do agree that if we do not win a premiership, because we pride ourselves on we've won a comp every single decade since our first in the 70s. Obviously,
running
we got till 2029. Thankfully, we won in 2011 to really just to extend that a little bit more from the 2010s. But I definitely agree that I might end up being one of those old Novocastrians one day. But I do honestly respect your argument there, because I feel like if I asked a South supporter that, they would go, we're a super successful club. We've won 21 premierships. We know you've won one in the modern era.
We know age and that from the Cast Patrol. They're insufferable. I get it. No, again, thank you for the compliment, but not to just throw another jab in here. Like you mentioned 2021. I feel like Manly fans are relying on 2021 and Tom Trbojevics and the miracle year he had. Like, you still lost the prelim. You didn't do jack of it, really, right? You've lost the prelim. Who cares? You move on. Penrith Panthers won that grand final, right? Manly are going, we lost the first 2 games. We're talking about stats. And then, we went on this run. It's just like, Manly got to realise that it's not 2021 anymore. It's 2026, and you can't rely on Tom Trbojevics for the rest of his career, because he's 30 years old now. He's not Tommy Trbojevics of a 24, 25, hot, buddy, injury-free player anymore. It's Tom Trbojevics. He's getting older. He's got older legs. He's not going to be that 2021 form. I'll leave it as that.
To back it up, in the great words of Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. So, but I'll just want to finish on this real quick. The impact of 97, I remember, it was massive for not just Newcastle, but the whole rugby league community. Do you think that impact is dying though? The longer it goes on, that you're not winning another comp?
No, because we still, because I was only so young, you've seen enough footage and heard enough stories from, uncles, aunties, mum, dad, like other families and stuff. Everyone has their own experience with the 97 grand final. And am I going to continue that trajectory when I've got kids, or if I'm lucky to have kids and stuff later on? Like, of course I am, because it's such like a significant moment for our city. Is it dying on? Like, I don't think so. But again, everyone's different. I keep on repeating myself, but the older generation will hang on to it. And I feel like it's important that we still share our experiences from it, but also look forward to the future. Hence why we changed our logo the other way.
Yeah,
well, the 97 grand final shouldn't count because of Super League, so it was a split comp.
Jesus.
Okay,
It's time for
like there's a tale between us.
time for a break.
We'll say, I think with current Newcastle, they almost rely on the hard years that you went through with the 3 wooden spoons. You almost look back at that. That has almost just as much impact as a grand final win, because of the struggles that you went through. You still had record crowds coming through. It's almost like you use that as a bit of a stabilisation more than the grand finals.
Yeah, I feel like you are right, Roasty. A lot of people look back at that and go, those years were disappointing, but, at least we're winning some games or making some finals now. But for me, that's not good enough. I want this club to be the club that we're always known for. People come to Newcastle, they were scared to play the Knights because they were a tough, gritty side. They weren't the most flashiest, but God, if you went to Newcastle, you knew you played the Knights that day. Yeah. And I would love to see that Newcastle Knights status come back into the competition, because it'd be fantastic to see. I think everyone wants to see the Knights go well. You mentioned, you like the Knights.
Never said that.
We'll have to check the tape.
If Newcastle are, using those 3 spoon years to anchor themselves, they didn't learn much when they won the spoon last year. So.
Correct.
Nothing. No response there. But Dan, look, some great points by both, but you're going to hit us with another one. What have you got?
In my opinion, I feel like Manly as a whole club, not just the fans but the coaching staff, are relying on the Trbojevics family way too much, and you just need to give it a rest. Change my mind.
Okay, I knew this would be coming up. I think we definitely have relied on the Trbojevics. My hopes and dreams were in the Trbojevics when they were all coming through the grades. People used to be like, Ben's even better than Tom and Jake. When he was playing junior footy for us. But I generally think probably last season and now this season, my hopes and dreams really aren't in them anymore. I think Jake's pretty close to being retired. I don't think Ben's been all that I thought he was going to live up to. Tom's looking good this season, but I am every single game going, when are we closer to his next injury? I think our hopes and dreams now are in the hands of Lehigh Hopewadi, Homole Olakawatu, Tolu Kula, but even more so, young Joey Walsh, who is in reserve grade at the moment. And I genuinely believe that every Manly fan out there thinks that our luck will change the second he gets a spot in first grade, which is really scary, because if he ends up not being as good as we anticipate, it's back to the drawing board, and it's going to be a huge reality check for us. But I just don't think the Trbojevics now we rely on as much. But I 100% agree with you. Seasons prior, there was a point there where even, I know you don't like stats, the stats showed when we weren't playing with Tom, we weren't winning. And there's obviously still stats that swing that way because he's our fullback. Yeah. Most teams, when their fullback isn't there, except for, you guys against us. God, I love my club. I
don't even need to speak on this one.
I just think we're not as reliant on him anymore.
And the family? Yeah.
In the seasons gone past, it was I feel like it was and I think you might agree here saying, when Tom went down injured, it was season over.
Genuine
right?
season over, yeah.
Is that changed now? Do you think 100%. If he goes down injured, it's we've probably got enough backup?
Yeah, I think because we've got Lehigh, we've got Tolu who can fill in there. Ruben was all right for a while, but he's about to go over to the Roosters. So, I just don't think it's as dire as before, because, previously we had Brendan Elliott playing fullback for us when Tom went down. And you know what? We did win a...
nothing against Brendan Elliott
because we won a week 1 finals game in 2019.
Too.
I think he played for maybe every club. He was a journeyman.
He was a journeyman.
He was a journeyman. But, I just think the only thing we still rely on the Trbojevics for is definitely club culture. I don't anticipate them ever leaving the club, in the sense the second they retire, I see them in a blue trainers jersey or coaching SG Ball or whoever. And I think we're going to rely on them for the culture and the community aspect on the Northern Beaches forever. Jake's wife's currently pregnant, so I'm like, sweet, we've got another generation about to come through. But I think it has changed slightly.
Yeah, okay. Great points. And I understand where you're coming from, because you actually do have a great opinion on rugby league. I've talked to you about rugby league many times before. You actually do know what you're talking about, right? And I'm not going to mention other content creators or that who go for Manly, but there's plenty out there in particular. They might not be intelligent rugby league minded like yourself, Ella, where they still will continue to say, Tom Trbojevics this, and 2021 relying on this, and Jake Trbojevics this, and respect that family, they've done so much at the club, blah, blah, blah. It's mate, get over it. Again, Jake's, he captained Origin the other year. He played 20 to 30 minutes, which was great. Won us the Shield. Good on you, Jake. You're awesome. But you're getting older now. You're getting a little bit, the game's probably getting a little bit past you, which sucks to say, because again, we love the Trbojevics family. It does not matter what club, Dragons, Newcastle, Dolphins, the Papua New Guinea, the Chiefs, and then they come into the competition. Perth Bears. It doesn't matter where you are on the globe. I don't know anyone that disliked the Trbojevics family, right? Which it does hurt me to say it, but I feel like you still do rely on that rely on that family so much, and it's like it's kind of sad to see because I like that family, and I just
Would you agree that like some fans are of that opinion?
Yeah, I think my dad will be watching this. I think my dad can be a little bit like that at times. I often, my brother and I say that the Trbojevics are dad's favourite children.
Yeah.
So it can be a little bit like that, even though
Does he replace your family photos, replace your faces with Jake and Tom?
it might
Ben?
be, who knows?
Yeah.
But even he, I think, is coming round to it. But I do agree there's definitely Facebook comments, Instagram comments out there that people are stuck in that 2021 mindset of like the Trbojevics equals our club's win. And it's just such a shame that we're getting closer and closer. And I'm trying to be an optimist here, but if they all retire and they haven't won a premiership, like it's just so sad.
Yeah.
But that's why I hope, and I think you brought up the point with New South Wales Origin. We won with him as captain. I think he offered more in his aura and like his
team
presence
morale,
there, and that's what I feel like I am holding on to a lot because even at halftime against Newcastle, when I came home, I saw that he was in that shed like yelling at people, and I'm like, oh God, when he goes, like who fills that role? It just doesn't feel like we have someone who would. But he was so passionate for this club.
100%.
But I do agree, like the game, it's just
I have
sad.
to admit, I was even one of those guys that wanted him in the team just purely based on his
aura
and the way that he leads that team.
Yeah.
But obviously, maybe not his skill set at this
Exactly.
time.
I know.
I still feel like he's never going to retire. He's just going to end up running hill sprints every day at Brookie.
And that's the thing. Like if he come off contract at the Knights and randomly just signed Jake Trbojevics, I'd be over the moon for that. That team morale, that team culture, and that. Side note: do you know who the Trbojevics family who they grew up supporting?
No, I know it's Newcastle, but that's only because, and they've come out and said
Changed
this
my
before.
mind.
They've said this
Changed my
before.
mind.
They play junior football for the Monavale Raiders, whose colours are red and blue. So they're just confused. They confuse children.
We also
Bad
had
parenting.
the greatest football player to ever play the goddamn game.
They
Andrew Johns,
also did say
great
they
player.
love Joey. So sue me that Manly, Manly didn't exist in the early 2000s. So
Where'd you go?
Northern Eagles, but I was too young. I don't know. You were around, but I wasn't.
Imagine
Is that just an old comment?
Imagine an alternate universe where Jake and Tom are lining up, and Ben for Newcastle Knights.
The funny thing is when Nilsso was like, oh, imagine if Jake just randomly signed with us, my stomach sank. So I'm like, I don't even know where my head's at right now.
And I was excited.
All right, moving on. Ella, you've got a final point to finish us up on. What have you got?
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Our fan base is far more passionate than yours. Change my mind.
You think Manly fans are more passionate than the Novocastrians?
I have
Roasty,
some-
I'll take a step back
I'm
on this.
just
one.
saying.
I have some good
Yeah.
points. You go
You,
first.
you have to be kidding me. You've been hammering me all afternoon about the Newcastle Knights and the wooden spoons, 3 in a row, and how ordinary our club is, and we've got no direction, we've got no future. Change the logo back the other way, whatever.
Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
30,000 screaming Novocastrians, week in, week out, dry weather, raining. Sunday time slot, Monday night footy back in the day, Friday night 6 p.m, Thursday night, whatever you're going to put that time, the NRL puts us in it. We're going to pack that stadium out. If our team's at the bottom of the ladder, we're at the top of the ladder. You can even just see when we won 10 in a row in 2023, like you honestly could not fit one more person in that joint. Back to 2016 when we're winning spoons, we're still getting 20 to 25,000 people to that ground. Oh, the fact that people think that Newcastle fans aren't passionate, and you're saying that, like, that actually irritates me. It actually upsets me massively because I know
Okay, Bob Cutter.
I've been there through the tough times, and I've been there with my mates and with my families, and we've experienced heartache and that. And I call it heartache, and people might call me soft, but it's my rugby league team, so I'll defend them to the death. To say that we're not passionate or Manly's fans are more passionate, all your fans are just Northern Beaches suburb snobs. That's all they are.
Fair point. No, and you know what? I actually want to start by saying I do think Newcastle fans are very passionate. However, like I was saying before, Manly has been a successful club since our first premiership in the 70s. So every generation's grown up seeing a premiership, used to quite a bit of success. So when you grow up like that, you just have higher expectations for what your club should be achieving. Obviously, Newcastle fans are used to a little more, worse seasons. Manly fans right now, like we said before, we haven't won a comp since 2011 now. We are selling out Brookvale Oval every single week. And before you say it's 5,000 seat stadium, it's 17 and a half. And it used to be more, but WH&S and all of that sort of thing. Manly fans are used to success. We're in a bad period right now, and we are still selling out every single week. The only reason we can't sell out higher than 17,000 is because our stadium doesn't fit anymore.
How come I was able to buy a general admission ticket 5 minutes before I walked in the joint the other day?
Okay, it was 17,100. So what? We're 400 people off. It is what it is. However, and I want to say, again, preface this by saying I actually really like Newcastle as an area. I think it'd be great to live there if it wasn't so far from Brookvale Oval. I can't be that far from Brookvale Oval. However, there's just not as much to do there. So you've got no choice but to go to McDonald Jones Stadium. And you guys have more people in Newcastle than we do on the Northern Beaches. So that's the reason there's more Newcastle fans turning up.
Before you follow up here, I just want to challenge you here with something. You're saying Manly going through a bad time after 2 losses.
After
high expectations
after
apparently.
15 years of no premiership.
Okay, right. So but they haven't never won a wooden spoon. Can you confidently say if they won a wooden spoon this year, which I'm with you, I sort of want to see it to happen.
Everyone does.
I'm non-biased. But if they won the wooden spoon this year, how good would the crowd be next year?
I actually think it would be fine purely because a wooden spoon would equal a coach sacking. And I think a new coach, everyone would get back on board with optimism. That's one thing I think Manly fans are good at is because we've had a couple of seasons, hate to bring up 2021 again, where we have started a little bit shaky and then we produce something magical. I think Manly fans do have optimism inside them.
But so do we, obviously, clearly, we've proved it, wooden spoon after wooden spoon, and we're still bloody showing up. I'd argue, the Tigers, for an example, they've been through just as much heartbreak as us, as what they've been through. They're still packing out that Leichhardt Oval. I'd argue that Tigers fans are more passionate than Manly fans. I went to that game on the weekend. I know this is only one example, but on the hill, the chants, going, Manly, is that all you've got?
What do Newcastle have? No, we've got more.
Newcastle.
You know what that sounds like? Yeah. You know what it sounds like? You asshole. When it's chanted really, really loudly, it just sounds like you're saying you asshole.
Or use Carl Sale, which shout out to Isuzu. use on you. They're still a great you.
Yeah.
You are.
Great plug there. Great plug. You're the king of plugs.
I know, but in saying that, back to the point, I even think, Roasty, you've been to McDonald Jones Stadium. You've seen the Knights fans in our work. You can see even over in Vegas. You could hear the Nova Cassians with their chants. You could hear all that. I was lucky enough to go to Vegas the first year. When Manly were playing, it was just boring, yawn.
Oh, come on. We had the most
And if anyone can afford to go over there, it's the Northern Beaches.
We know Manly.
Support it.
We know Manly don't travel.
Yes, we do. It's a lie. You were both there in Vegas. You saw how many Manly fans. There's left, right, and centre Manly fans.
Yeah. All in the corporate boxes.
It is what it is. I don't even sit on the hill. So.
Exactly.
No, but you know what? When you're talking about chants, I know the boys that sit on the hill, and they've got a whole list of chants. Unfortunately, when your club is losing to a team that has one of their best players out, and then 2 go down mid-game, it's not much to sing about. However,
I agree. I would
love you to come back when we do finally win a game, if ever this season. And experience the hill again. I can't believe we've circled back to the stadium debate.
I want to bring up a point because I've been to both, and recently, one good thing about the hill on Brookie is when I was there, people would be rocking up and they'd be saying, "Oh, hey Jonesy, hey," to everyone, and it felt like everyone had been there week in, week out. They're all in the same spot. But one good thing about Newey was on the hill, you'd see the mats rolled out and families sitting up there, and they all had a really good family feel. So there's good points about both. Wish we had that at the Dragons.
And even at McDonald Jones Stadium, you talk about the hills with the seats in front of I feel like everyone caters for the families and the older people who are struggle to sit down. We look after them and make sure they've got a place to sit where everyone who's having a beer and whatever, everyone's at the back. In the general admission area at McDonald's, we're looking after the generation before or the new and up-and-comers that actually probably need the seats. At Brookvale, it was just chaos everywhere.
No, the family hills if you're facing the hill, it's the far right. It's non-alcoholic.
Sorry, the summer's in my eyes. I couldn't say anything.
And we do have wheelchair spots around the entire perimeter. So
shout out to Manly.
Shout out to Brookvale Oval and the Northern Beaches Council.
But I can tell by this chat that you're both passionate. You've got both big passionate fan bases. We'll let the people decide which fan base is more passionate. But we're going to finish it up with one bonus question, which is, We're going to pick one player to play all 13 positions, one from Newcastle, one from Manly. We're going to go head-to-head. I'll start with you, Nilso. Who you got for your player?
Was it got to be a current player? Because I go with Brody Jones. No, I'm joking.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Human Shrek as well. It looks like Human Shrek. If I was going to choose one player to play every single position on the park, fullback to front row, wherever you need him to go, there's only one real option here. Now, people might be going, I'll choose Joey. Why would I choose Joey? Joey's a halfback. Why don't you choose the man that captained New South Wales off the bench? Why don't you go with Kurt Gidley?
Oh.
The super sub. Yep. Captained the state off the bench. Mr. Utility himself. They designed the utility position. Kurt Gidley made that his own. Now, if he was a WWE wrestler, he would be Mr. Utility. That would be his whole catchphrase and everything. Go out there and just get the job done. Kurt Gidley, he's played in numerous positions before. He's played in the forwards. At Origin time, they've put him in at lock or back row. He can play fullback, play in the halves, play dummy half. He can do it all. If you wanted him to play centre, you could. You could put him in any position on the park, and they argue that he is one of the fittest rugby league players of all time. I've heard so many stories of that. You ask Kurt himself, he'll deny it because he's, again, one of the most humble men in the game of rugby league. But there was a show on Fox many years ago where they did a challenger series of all the different sports, and they had Kurt Gidley front and centre as rugby league because they needed someone to represent, and who is going to be the best player in rugby league to go up against these other sports and show the world that how good rugby league is. The NRL chose Kurt Gidley. I'll rest my case there.
I think he has. He's played hooker, 5'8", lock. Halfback, everything in the back. So he's
big
played,
body, fit.
I want to see how he go taking the hit ups at front row. That's all. The biggest question of this one is if you pick someone that's a back, how would they take the hit ups? How would they get the meters?
He's a solid man. He can get through he'd still get through 30, 40 tackles a game. If he was playing, when he come on for Origin and he was playing in the middle or dummy half, you could see he was just into his work. And for an example, when Justin Hodges or Thurston, bombed the ball and he had to take that during the 8 in a row.
Yep.
He took that like an absolute champion.
He did.
Yeah, Kurt Gidley's he's my man for that one.
Great pick. Ella, who have you got for Manly?
Obviously, Brad Parker. No.
Brad Parker against Brody Jones.
Sorry, it's a wipeout. He is that easy.
No, I obviously could not go past anyone but Steve Menzies. I think, obviously, he forwards 100% covered. I think he could play in the centres. Kicking game, I don't know. On the wing, maybe
surely
not.
We can find some highlights of him.
Kicking game, surely.
Yeah, and when I'm thinking about any player that's played for our club, he's obviously one of the best as is, and I just think that he 100% would be my answer for that because he also was quite a prolific try scorer for a forward throughout his whole career.
He ranked 5th or 6th.
He's got ridiculous, and I know he played.
Thanks, Cliffy.
He played, literally.
I was just about to say, how's he going to go without Cliffy in his side?
I know.
He's going to get the ball out of his handbag and put it over the line. He's got no Cliffy. How's he meant to score tries?
Or in the 2008 grand final when he's gifted a try towards the end.
But that wasn't a great experience for you think of famous grand finals like that 40-0, that try.
It gives me goosebumps still every time watching it.
It gives me goosebumps watching that. That was a fantastic moment for rugby league.
But yes, Steve Menzies is my choice for that.
Steve Menzies versus Kurt Gidley. It's a matchup I'd love to see.
You know what? Why don't we make it happen?
Yeah, let's
give him a call.
They're both in very good nick.
He is. I think Beaver's still playing local touch footy on the Northern Beaches. So
is Cliffy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. No, Cliffy plays rep footy in over 50s for Manly.
Pack of darts at half
time. Who do you think wins that one?
Look, I think I'd love to see Steve Menzies 13 all headgear, which would be great to see. I think it'd be the first for a team wearing all headgear. But I have to give it to Kurt Gidley just for the utility.
He's got
I think it's a very close one.
The
kicking game might put Beaver on his back foot. But he's got some go forward, but I'd give it to Kurt Gidley.
And Ian, both great men.
That's the other thing. They're good role models.
Yes.
Good community men.
Role model.
Great New South Welshmen as well. So.
What more can you want, hey?
Well, that was passionate. Thank you very much to Nilso. Thank you, Ella, for joining us on Change My Mind, brought to you by the Isuzu MU-X.